Morning, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces today. I'm going to wait to see my slides up here. But let me introduce myself again, Edgar Figueroa with Wi-Fi Alliance. And I'll spend just a couple of slides here introducing Wi-Fi Alliance. As many of you may be familiar with Wi-Fi Alliance, I won't spend too much time on that. But I do have an announcement regarding a new program that we're launching just this week. That's very relevant to spectrum efficiency and very relevant to operators. And then I'll say a few words about coexistence, which is also, of course, a focal topic regarding spectrum sharing. But before I get going with all of that, thanks to WBA for putting on another quality event and for the opportunity to speak here. Certainly it's this sort of dialogue and engagement across different segments of the ecosystem that's going to be needed for us to continue to do the best that we can for particularly on licensed spectrum, but across the board for connectivity generally. Just one slide on Wi-Fi Alliance. We're a very effective collaboration forum. Michael said that 600 or so companies. In fact, it's over 750 now, representing, of course, the full ecosystem from software developers and chipset vendors all the way out to the community that's largely represented here with service providers. I can attest that just about every day of the year, this group of companies and individuals are so committed to Wi-Fi and working every day just about to continue to make Wi-Fi better. To the extent that as we do that, it's practically invisible to the consumer because we're bringing on new capabilities in a manner that allows the consumer to continue to enhance their network and their own experience without sacrificing any of their investments they've already made. So I'd say, that's something that we should all take credit for because you're all members of this ecosystem as well and are helping us with that. Part of how we do that is to certify devices. We have certified close to 35,000 different product models for Wi-Fi capabilities. And as if that were not enough, I mentioned we're working every day to make it better. We have a roadmap of about 20 new capabilities that you can expect to see over the next few years that will make Wi-Fi even better in 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, 60 gigahertz, and other spectrum that may become available. I'll touch on some of that, a little bit of that today. But let me just mention here a few things about where Wi-Fi is today. It's certainly probably the model success story for the high-tech era. Wi-Fi has about 8 billion devices in use around the world. That's more devices that have Wi-Fi capability than people in the world. So terrifically popular. Europe has taken the position officially that the European Commission loves Wi-Fi. This year, Michael mentioned we have shipped close to 3 billion units in new devices into the marketplace with the latest capabilities, most of them. And already Wi-Fi is carrying more than half of all the traffic going over the internet. So it's essential. It's essential to operators. Just the numbers alone tell that story, right? And it's part of the reason that this dialogue here is so important. Wi-Fi is diversifying into new segments. I often tell people that while many believe that IoT, for example, is an abstraction, it's an idea that's not yet real, I can tell you, just my home is an example of where IoT is real and it's happening through Wi-Fi as a leading connectivity option. So we could spend some time talking about that perhaps at the panel discussion. But it's certainly going into automotive and agriculture. We're seeing more and more Wi-Fi around the world in airplanes, for example, and new venues. So it'll be exciting to see where we go from here because certainly the capabilities that are fueling this kind of propagation continue to emerge, and we're very committed to continue to make Wi-Fi even better. And then I mentioned before that we don't sacrifice at all the investments that people have made, and we recognize operators have made a lot of investments. Wi-Fi probably started as the people's network, right? It was very popular initially with consumers. And we recognize that. So today, if you go out and buy a Wi-Fi certified device with the latest capabilities, you plug it into your network and it works with your older devices, right? And few technologies can say that. So today, sort of recognizing that Wi-Fi is evolving, right? And operators have invested a lot in Wi-Fi. In Wi-Fi Alliance, we have a market segment task group. That's a task group focused on the operator market segment. And then we also have some parallel activities that are focused on different capabilities that are targeting operators for their use case and for their capabilities that they're bringing about. We have talked about for years about carrier Wi-Fi, carrier-grade Wi-Fi. And that, too, to many has been an abstraction, and there hasn't really been a focal sort of menu of capabilities that have been agreed upon across the industry for what that means. And in Wi-Fi Alliance, we have been talking about that for quite a while, and then engaging with organizations like WBA, GSMA, and others to bring some harmony to what that means, and to get sort of a common expectation for where carrier Wi-Fi should be. We thought that one of the ways to bring that dialogue into fruition, into reality, and to start to move the needle about the capabilities and expectations that a carrier Wi-Fi network is, and a carrier Wi-Fi device is, we now are launching a program that we're calling Wi-Fi Certified Vantage, which will comprise all of these capabilities that will be essential and required for carrier Wi-Fi. So let's go through it. This is really the first instantiation of Wi-Fi Alliance defining what carrier Wi-Fi should be. And it represents an umbrella term here, Wi-Fi Certified Vantage, that will encompass a number of capabilities to start out, but it will be a living program in that more and more capabilities will comprise Vantage as Wi-Fi continues to evolve, and as operators continue to harmonize what their requirements should be for carrier-grade Wi-Fi. So it will include the ability, for example, to authenticate easily and to make the communications that go across Wi-Fi secure and encrypted, with capabilities like Passpoint that are going to be required, and in fact are required as of now, for equipment to be Wi-Fi Certified Vantage equipment. It will include the latest technologies for media access, the latest Wi-Fi technologies. In the current version of Wi-Fi, we all know to be Wi-Fi Certified AC. So it will have high performance, use the 5 gigahertz spectrum, which is the best spectrum that we can use for traditional networking today. In requiring that, it will require the latest capabilities of Wi-Fi Certified AC. And then in the future, we'll continue to enhance it with things that we're already working on that you may or may not know about. Things like enhanced connectivity through dynamic selection of the appropriate frequency band to operate. Fast roaming, moving from one access point to another for folks who are mobile within a Wi-Fi environment. And in addition to that, we have a number of other programs that are targeting to become part of the Vantage umbrella. There's also a number of high efficiency mechanisms that we're targeting to include with Vantage. And so today we're announcing that this will be the brand behind carrier-grade Wi-Fi from Wi-Fi Alliance. There will be some requirements, of course, capabilities that will be included in that. Because we have already certified a number of devices that meet the initial requirement set, as of today, there's already a number of devices that are deemed certified for this. Initially, the key components I mentioned are Wi-Fi Certified Passpoint. And if you're not familiar with that, WBA and Wi-Fi Alliance have been working in harmony for some time to bring about an experience that's much like the cellular experience, where the device and the network share intelligence that allows the device and the user to just get connected to the best Wi-Fi network in a way that employs the highest levels of security. That's part of the next generation hotspot environment. Then there's also foundational network connectivity with Wi-Fi Certified AC, that supports concurrent dual band operation, for example, and the Wave 2 features that you probably are familiar with. In the future, if you haven't heard, there's a program in Wi-Fi Alliance that we're working on named Optimized Connectivity Experience and Multi-Band Operations, all of which aim to give operators more choices to manage devices and to rely on devices that make intelligent decisions about the best connectivity option, depending on the location and depending on the subscriber details, regardless of where they may be. So all of these components, will continue to enhance what the Wi-Fi Vantage brand will offer. And I encourage you all to go and look into more of our detailed press release and our website for some of the details on this program. But it's a great venue today to announce that, given that many of you are operator companies or work closely with operators to help them bring solutions to the market. Now, Michael, of course, set us up to talk about spectrum efficiency, and operators are doing a lot to count on Wi-Fi, even today, before the era of the 5G network, as a module, a key component, an essential component of the networks that they're managing, right? And this is part of what's brought about us being able to avoid the sort of collapse that FCC Chairman Janikowski talked about years ago. We've done well in this area. Wi-Fi Alliance will continue to recognize that operators have their own unique challenges that they deal with in offering Wi-Fi, and through solutions like Vantage, we show our commitment, right? We establish that these requirements, there's this different bar for this sort of network. And we recognize that in parallel, there's going to be another segment of the Wi-Fi industry that's also very important. The consumer network and the requirements for that segment may be different. So we'll go on this journey with you all, and we count on WBA and operators individually to help us continue to get this right and get the right requirements within the Vantage program. Another element, though, that's also been very much talked about recently, perhaps the last 2 years, regards coexistence. And so I'm going to shift gears here and talk about the role that Wi-Fi Alliance has played and maybe some thoughts about that. So there's no doubt that continued innovation is going to require support for connectivity. Connectivity sort of is the foundation for a lot of the worldwide economy these days. And because of the spectrum demand that we all know about, sharing spectrum and making the best use of spectrum is going to continue to be paramount. Industry so far has been a great example of how we can use an environment of minimal regulations, clear minimal regulations, and then industry can be trusted to be a good steward of the spectrum. And in the case of Wi-Fi, we've done that for the last 17 years. And I mentioned at the beginning that we're now carrying more than half of the internet traffic. So we can be trusted to do the right thing, to continue to appreciate that the spectrum is a scarce resource that we need to be very careful with, and that we need to extract the most value and the most benefit from it. The last year or so, we had a pretty good, intense work item regarding addressing a new technology, LTU, that came into unlicensed, and making sure that across all stakeholders, we had confidence that that technology could come about without disrupting services for the billions of Wi-Fi users out there, and in particular users in North America and places that LTU is targeting. And that work culminated with the release in September of a test plan that's aimed at addressing all the use cases, all the environments that are most important for assurances that Wi-Fi will not be unfairly harmed by being in the presence of LTU equipment. And so you may have access to this link here. That's a public website where we posted this test plan, which was really a cross-industry effort. What Wi-Fi Alliance did was we hosted the dialogue But then there was input from a number of stakeholders, as I mentioned. And I know, for example, some of the cities that were following this had opportunity to voice opinion about it and influence some of what went in there. So it's just an example of where, going back to the main point, industry can be trusted to take on this work. We can be trusted to roll up our sleeves and have a very detailed technical conversation with the end user in mind, and with an appreciation that spectrum and sharing spectrum is something that benefits everyone. So we invite you to take a look at this. And we also invite you, if you're interested, the conversation is ongoing. I noticed Mark Hamilton's here somewhere. There he is. Mark Hamilton happens to be the chair of the task group that is working on coexistence in Wi-Fi lands, one of our big task groups. A lot of operators are there, equipment vendors and endpoint vendors. And so, maybe this will help. Can we go back to the slides? So we invite you to join that conversation and that Mark hosts and ushers. But just sort of to tie out, to close out here on the material I have, you can expect innovation from the Wi-Fi industry, in particular from Wi-Fi lands, to continue. I started off mentioning we have right around 20 different capabilities for Wi-Fi that you can expect to see in the near future. And we're doing some different things. Vantage is an example of where we're taking on models that will put together in packages new capabilities for Wi-Fi that you can expect to see on a regular basis. This is something different that you can expect to see from us. There's, of course, going to be more and more performance. That's something that we've been able to do over very many years, is to continue to push more through the same amount of spectrum that's available. If you missed it, in October, we launched Wi-Fi certified WiGig, which is technology that operates in 60 gigahertz spectrum. There's now in the US 14 gigahertz of spectrum available up in that frequency range. And most of the rest of the world, there's 7 at least gigahertz of spectrum available. With that high frequency capability, we're able to push up to 7 gigabit per second speeds in smaller cells. So that's something that's already available. The market is just starting, so we expect that to become more and more popular. One of the things that we were surprised with, I was speaking with some folks earlier today, but right out of the gate when we launched that program, we were surprised to see that there's a lot of interest in gigabit outdoors, in WiGig outdoors. Of course, because it can alleviate some of the logistics with trenching fiber, to different places, and instead being able to share one fiber line with a multitude, perhaps in a campus environment, for example. There's more regarding IoT and connected home that we're working on, so look out for that. There's also more than I shared with you here regarding operator networks that you can expect to see over the next couple of years. There's a public website that we made available where you'll have access to it through this link, where we detail many more of the programs that we're working on. And so just in closing here, definitely our organization has been honored to host a lot of the discussion that has made Wi-Fi what it is today, and we continue to do that. We're continuing to be committed to all of the different segments of the Wi-Fi industry, including the operator segment. And so there's a lot of work going on in that area. We're also continuing to be, more and more interested in making sure that sharing happens in a way that maintains this legacy of great stewardship for the spectrum that we've established for ourselves over the last 17 years. And finally, the latest examples of what Wi-Fi Alliance does are Vantage and the Coexistence test plan I shared with you today. So thank you all for your time, and I look forward to the discussion. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, and I think we could take one question
Sure.
with your remaining few seconds, if you don't mind. Wow, I don't know if any of those seem particularly compelling to you, but
Right. Let's go with
the first one.
Yeah, the one that might clarify a lot of things for folks is what's the connection between Vantage and Next Generation Hotspot? So Vantage is an umbrella term that we've created to comprehend all of the different requirements for carrier-grade Wi-Fi. And naturally, Passpoint would be one of those requirements. Naturally, the latest version of Wi-Fi would be one of those requirements, security. If you're not familiar with the link between Passpoint and next generation Wi-Fi, Passpoint ensures all these capabilities are interoperable across devices, and then that becomes a foundational component of next generation hotspot, which ensures interoperability across operator networks. So we would expect that more and more that there would be a discussion about Vantage in WBA as you become more and more familiar with all of the ingredients of Vantage.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Edgar. That was terrific.
All right, thanks.